It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's an Atari 2600. If you were a 70s or 80s kid, this is probably what you had, or a Magnavox Odyssey. But the Atari is known for having caused the video game crash of 1983, and was the start of the gaming industry, basically. If you want to go back farther, you can go to Magnavox Odyssey. If you want to go really far back, you can check out one of those old 1958 video games, Tennis for Two. So people know Atari for creating this game. This is supposedly the worst game of all time. E.T., the extraterrestrial for the Atari 2600. Now, compared to what I've played, let's see, like this piece of crap, or this garbage. E.T. is actually an okay game. Let's take a look at the system. If you guys don't know, if you guys haven't noticed, it's a brand new studio. It's a brand new studio look. So, the Atari 2600, I'm gonna grab a game to demonstrate it, its capabilities. And Space Invaders, since that's like a well-known game. How the Atari. So first of all, hold on. There we go. So the Atari was like the console, kind of like the Magnavox Odyssey, that you had to have right next to you. Because basically this was the controller, for example. So if you look on the screen, you can change the color from color to black and white. You can select the game, which is basically the reset button. This is just Space Invaders. But in other games, instead of a reset button, instead of the game select to start the game, you'd have to hit the reset button. You'd have to hit to start your game. Now, people know this. This is the classic Atari. Atari made a lot more other consoles in between the life of the 2600. And in fact, the Atari 2600's life ran quite a while, actually. It was up until 1983, and this was released in '77. And that was when video games were just starting to get popular at the time. So basically, Nintendo at the time was not here. Nintendo in 1977 was nothing. But people had Atari. Oh, sorry guys. I'm going to turn the TV off. But see, none of this didn't exist. But this Trojan horse did. People grew up with Atari. I actually know quite a few adults that have grown up with Atari. Atari is actually one of the best-selling video game consoles of all time because a lot of people had one. Like, if you lived in the 70s or 80s, it's most likely that you either had one or you've at least played one. Like, you see, back then, it was only this, and it was the Odyssey, and that was it. It was this and the Magnavox Odyssey, and that was it. So basically all you had to play was Atari. But basically, a lot of people at the time had black and white TVs. That's why the black and white switch is for. Now I have a black and white TV at another place, like a relative's house. I have a black and white TV that I found in their garage, and I cleaned it up, and it works fine. And it's modded into composite too. It has all those old hookups and everything like that. And what I want to do someday is plug the Atari in to it. Now, if you take a look at the switcher, if you some of you guys know that the Atari takes the good old rabbit ears, but mine has a coaxial adapter to fit on the switcher. This is actually, the switcher is brand new, but yeah, that's you see how I can take that off? It's a splitter. Yeah, that's what I said. It is a splitter. But you see, the Atari had the rabbit ears, which a lot of people know about. But I don't have the rabbit ears, so I just use this, and then it basically mods it into composite. But what a lot of people had was the rabbit ears, and it would come in. Sometimes it would glitch out. Sometimes, and you know what's really odd is that not a lot of people know this, but video game power cords like this one, this Atari one right here, is just to cause sparks. Now that still happens for me when I plug this baby in. Well, it used to happen, but I remember seeing sparks a few times. But yeah, so on the back, you guys can see, you guys had a channel switcher, which is on the back of the NES as well. Switch it to channel 2 or 3. Most TVs nowadays have channel 3, and some TVs back then had channel 2. So if you didn't have channel 3, you switch it right there to channel 2. Switch it. Now you have difficulty buttons, difficulty A or difficulty B for each controller. Now, Atari had 2 controller ports on the back. This one was first player. This one was second. What's also interesting is that you can use a Sega Genesis controller or whatever kind of controller that has that same port on the Atari, and it'll work. I've seen people play with a Sega Genesis controller. Even one of my friends brought his over and tried it with the Sega, and I even tried it with the Sega Genesis controller, and it worked fine. All right, guys, so that's the review. Stay retro. Yeah, that's it. Stay retro.